Hi guys, Michael Ingledew, Managing Director of TDW, and thank you and welcome to this latest vlog, all of the news updates, etc. from our network. We're going to do the same again, which seems to be working really well. I've got my notes in front of me here. We're going to look at some industry news, members news, a little bit about some of the latest courses and tutorials that we've done and some stuff that we've got coming up. But then I want to look at some of the questions and comments that have come in, because we're now seeing a massive amount of questions coming into TDW as people are becoming more and more familiar with who we are and what we do. We're getting more and more questions, and some of these are really interesting questions. But let's look at some of the news that's coming out of the TDW network this last month. Okay, firstly, a huge thank you to Aspire Consulting and BMT Defence. Both have renewed their support for TDW this last month. We're actually going to be announcing something a little bit more interesting with Aspire over the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that. I think that will be very interesting to our network. So we're working with Aspire there. GPSL have just joined us, and if you don't know who GPSL are, make sure you go to our website, have a look at their company profile. They'll be coming to the conference this year. They will be attending as delegates this year just to have a look at the conference. But GPSL, new to our network, and welcome aboard, and we hope that you find it useful and beneficial to your business. So some news coming out of the market over the last month. Well, if you know me, you know that I'm a keen photographer and I follow a number of other blogs. And what I'm finding is that a lot of what happens in the photography sector actually is really pertinent to how we work with TD in our market. And one of the things that came out of one of the blogs that I follow is a new battery development that's being looked at by all of the major camera manufacturers, but it's also being developed in, I believe it's in South Korea. A couple of professors in South Korea have come up with this design for a battery that will last weeks, not just a couple of days. Or my battery can go to this thing here. This little watch will last 7 or 8 days if it's just switched on, doesn't get used. But this battery development that's coming out is promising to, on one charge, allow you to run something like a MacBook Pro for about 3 or 4 weeks. Now that will change massively our market and the perception of deploying things like IETPs and using technology on ships and those kind of things, where you're disconnected for long periods of time. And so that I thought was really exciting and really kind of interesting to our market. And I think if that comes, they're talking about in the next 3 or 4 years, these batteries will be available in our devices, that they're going to go weeks before needing a recharge. I think that's really going to change the dynamics of how we deliver and deploy our technical information. SDL have released a couple of white papers that we've made links to over on our website. So if you haven't got an account yet, go and create an account over on our private kind of hidden area. We've put some links to the SDL white papers that they've released. They're over there now. Those of you who are ADS members, which TDW are, we are members of ADS and the UKCEB. This came through the post, and we have signed up to it. It's 2 free trade passes to the Farnborough International Air Show. So if you're an ADS member, you can get your 2 free passes. So myself and Jamie are going to go along. I'm going to take my camera, but we're going to go along on the trade days, and normally a little bit quieter, gives you a little bit more time to talk to some of the vendors. So we will be there. Don't know what day yet, but we will go and have a look around. Those of you who are delivering some articles and adverts, etc. for the magazine, we're now starting to plan the next issue of the magazine. So please make sure that you are aware of the deadlines. They're up on our website. Scroll to the bottom of the magazine page and they are there. Some other interesting news. If you do not know yet, TDW, here at TDW, we are sponsoring and funding a MOD field study in the use of TD. And right now, we are at the phase of where we are trying to capture all of those people who are interested in helping us with requirements capture. So if you are delivering data to the UK MOD and you would like to know more about this field study and even how you can get involved, create an account on our website. There is a group, a private group on there that you can join. We will then ask you some questions about, you know, who you are, what you do, and then you can create your account and we'll invite you into the group so you can join the discussion, etc., that we've got going on. Some really exciting news for our members. As we mentioned about a month or so ago, the current members area is kind of for full subscribers, is a kind of a stopgap for our training material while we evaluate Adobe Captivate Prime. And we're actually a way down that evaluation now. Jamie's been looking at it for us. We've put one course on there at the moment, and we think that it's the tool that we're going to use. So that means that over the next few months, we're going to be migrating all of our training material, updating it, and putting it in the Captivate Prime. Now that's going to give our members a whole raft of additional benefits, which we won't talk about here today, but it means that you can have your organization teams come in and you can manage them and you can track the training they're doing and that kind of stuff, which is really exciting. We're really pleased with that. We have done a whole raft of new tutorials. I won't list them all. One of the questions that I'm regularly asked is, you know, successful sales and successful BDM within the aerospace, defense and space sector. We've done a members only, I think it's about 60-minute tutorial on success and successful selling in the aerospace, defense and space sector. That's available to members now. You can go and have a look at that, our full members. Like I said, we've done a whole raft. You can check out our YouTube channel. You can go and create an account, and a lot of the videos are there for you to have a look at. If you're looking at my eyes and they're all red, it's because I was at the gym this morning and I've really I pushed myself really hard at the gym this morning, and my eyes are a little bit bloodshot. I didn't have a heavy night on the juice, and I'm not some kind of vampire. So that's kind of the news and the latest updates on what we're doing here at TDW. We've got a lot of new courses coming up. We're looking at some very specific questions that have come in, which leads me nicely to some of the questions and comments that have come in. Thank you for all of the really positive comments that we have had. We have had some brilliant feedback from TD managers that are saying they're making their project managers watch what we're doing. They're making their bosses watch what we're doing, which is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this something that's a valuable resource to your TD department. So we've had a whole raft of questions this last month, and I'm just not going to get through all of them. If you've asked a question and we haven't answered it and it's pressing for your business, get in touch with us and we'll try and answer it privately for you. The chances is that you've asked a question that we might be wanting to do a tutorial on, so we might be holding that back a little bit. But if it's pressing for your business, get in touch. So some of the questions that we've been sent, which I think is interesting to the wider community. The first one that came in is, would you use a thin client software over desktop installed? Right. The question comes down to the technology. Okay, now a few years ago there was a real drive to thin client editors. And thin client, we mean it's not necessarily installed on your local machine. It maybe runs in a web browser or something along those lines. Now, there are many, many benefits to doing that. There are also a lot of real restrictions that can be placed on you. And there's a whole raft of technical questions that you need to ask your vendor. So I think we did something on cloud-based software a few months back, which is available on the members area. And we did talk about thin client versus fat client software. So maybe take a look at that. But maybe we'll do another tutorial on, thin versus fat and the benefits that it gives you, and some of the real restrictions that can be placed on your organization if you go that way. Second question that came in, almost, I don't think it came from the same company. Is FrameMaker a dead investment? We want to buy FrameMaker. We are being told FrameMaker is old, tired, and will be retired. You know what? I've been involved in this market now. I think I started on FrameMaker 5.5.6, the version that kept falling over and you'd be writing and then it would... That was 15 odd years ago. FrameMaker from Adobe is, whether we like it or not, is here in the market to stay for now. And but we can't say that everything's going to be here forever. In terms of products. Products are developed and retired all the time. All I can say to you is that this kind of noise around Adobe retiring FrameMaker has been around for years. And it's been around for years, and the noise generally comes from other software vendors. So we have licenses of FrameMaker here because we use a vendor's S1000D application to use on some of our tutorials because they've loaned us some licenses. There are alternatives, but it's a robust tool that is over the years got stronger and stronger, and it's got bigger and bigger. And in our market in general, you will only use very small features in any of these editors. So first thing I would do is step back, have a look at who's making these noises and who's putting these thoughts in your head. Go and download a trial of FrameMaker. I know the FrameMaker, not the development team, but I know the FrameMaker product management team, the marketing management team. And believe me, that this tool's not going anywhere just yet. So, they are committed to certainly this market, and they are committed to DITA and specification-driven data, as well as non-structured data. The great thing about FrameMaker is that, it does have many benefits over just purist structuring editing tools, if you like. But there are other tools available. So maybe we do a comparison on tools in the future. That's something we'll do, but I don't believe that it's going anywhere right now. It's been around. I've been using it for years. I've also used is it Arbortext editor? WebEx have a tool. There are other tools out there, so maybe have a look at those as well. Fantastic tutorial on the 5 myths of S1000D. It's called S1000D Myths Part 1. This implies you're doing Part 2. We made our entire team watch it. When will you be doing Part 2? Okay, so the myths of S1000D that we did has received an awful lot of feedback, and the negative feedback we got was from consultants. Okay, and and because we've called them out, but the reality is there are a lot of missellings around S1000D. Yes, that's why we did Part 1, and yes, we have Part 2 in production. And I don't have the list in front of me here, but we've got probably about 15 misconceptions around S1000D. Now, don't interpret these tutorials on the myths of S1000D as S1000D is a load of rubbish. It's not. If you use it correctly and appropriately and sensibly, it delivers a massive amount of business benefits. But if you are looking for some of these other sales lines that are given to you, you will be disappointed. For example, I was at a meeting. I asked why someone was using S1000D because it gives us reuse. You might want to think about that again before you say for sure that it's going to give you in your organization data reuse, because it does at some levels and doesn't at others. So if you've not seen the 5 myths of S1000D, go take a look, because we've had some real great comment and feedback on that, and I know that a lot of TD managers have watched it and asked their managers to watch it, which is great. We are confused about business rules. We don't know if we need them or not. Right, okay, so this is another one of those subjects that I get a little bit animated about, and I get a little bit animated about it because S1000D business rules, which is, you're definitely asking about that, is that it's like if you like the Carpenters' music, Solitaire's the only game in town. For some consultants, business rules is the only question they can answer. It's like, have you seen Father Ted? If you've never watched Father Ted and you're in the United States or wherever, and I don't know where this question came from, go to YouTube, put in Father Ted, and look for the old guy who sits in the chair at the back, and he's the drunk old guy who just goes feck, feck. Now, hilarious. That's the consultant that only knows business rules. Let me tell you, S1000D business rules is the easiest subject associated with S1000D. That's why a lot of people jump on it. That's why a lot of people make such a big noise about business rules. Absolutely important. They are needed on new modern S1000D projects, and we've done some tutorials on that. But whether you need them or not, which is your question, depends on what you are trying to achieve with your tech data. And we've done a tutorial here on are you contracting for a capability or are you contracting for a deliverable? And depending on which side of the fence you fall in, again, it'll be made available to members over on the TDW account. So go make your account. Depending on where you sit, depends on how important business rules are to you, whether you should be focusing on them, whether you should be using them, or whether it's somebody else's problem. And business rules also have different impacts depending on where you are in the information supply chain. And I talk a lot on some of our tutorials about the information supply chain. So go over and have a look at that. In fact, I think I talk about it on the 5 myths tutorial. So go take a look at that. So business rules are sometimes overcomplicated. It's the easiest question to answer in terms of S1000D. These guys that hammer on about business rules, as soon as you ask them another question about S1000D, they freeze, they clam up, and they don't know. So the reality is, yes, they're needed. Yes, but it depends on where you sit in the information supply chain, and it also depends on the kind of deliverable you're asking for from your information supply chain. So we'll do a tutorial on that, on specifically on where business rules fit within the information supply chain. But I encourage you to go and have a look at the tutorial that we are going to release this week on deliverable versus capability and what it means to you and your project and what it gives you and what kind of stresses it puts on the information supply chain. But great question, though. We're being forced to use a tool by our IT department that we know is inappropriate, but it's being forced on us. How do we... Oh, okay. Right. Okay. This is something that we see regularly. First of all, my message to all of you guys in IT, tech data and tech data production is a specialist subject. Okay. It's a specialist skill. Don't rush off and buy tools that your TD department can't use or are unable to implement easily. This is a common trait. IT departments are, certainly in larger organizations, are given a brief to go and find a great example is a content management system. Now, there are many content management systems out there, none of which will easily support S1000D, none of which will easily support DITA, but you can find specialist tools that will support the production of these specifications, and they will integrate with other tools. Now, you have to find the root of why, and I'm trying to be politically sensitive in the way that I answer this, because this is not uncommon, where a tool is enforced within an organization and it causes massive problems. So the trick is you're just going to have to sit down with your IT department and say, look, what we do is specialist, and what we do is going to, and what the tool you're trying to enforce on us is going to impact how we can do what we need to do. And guys, you ain't delivering this system, this product, without our tech data. And if we can't do it, then you need to work with us and not against us. Okay, so 3 questions came in from the same organization, and I'm coming in to see you, I believe, next week. Do you think in-source or outsource is better? Okay, now I have some context to this, but I've removed the context a little bit. It really depends on your business objectives. It really depends on what you want to achieve from TD. And I think we do have an old video tutorial over on the members area where we look at insourcing and outsourcing. When you outsource, and there's different areas you can outsource, but when you outsource, there are some great companies that really know their onions. You look at Allen Webb, Lionbridge, DCS, companies like this, of this caliber, really understand tech data. They know, they have some real good experts in their organizations. Now, the problem with that is that their expertise is in their organization and not in your organization. So what I say to everybody is that you need to have a clear vision of what your business is trying to achieve in terms of TD and a TD strategy, and from that decide on whether it's something you want to give to the Allen Webbs of this world, or whether it's something that you actually, you want to have the skills, you want to have the know-how, you want to have the capability in-house to do what you want to do. But great question. And so it comes down to your business requirements. How much cost and effort is involved in getting started in S1000D, specifically around buying tools? Okay, right. There's no one simple straight answer on this. When you buy any software solution, it comes down to the tools that you want to buy, the number of users, how you're going to deploy it. But I think that, if you wanted a basic S1000D editing stroke database, you can start right down in the 25,000s, and you can spend right the way up to the 250,000-300,000 euros on a platform or on a piece of just software. Now, your question was specifically around S1000D, so I'm going to answer specifically around S1000D. Most vendors today, when they are in this market, in the S1000D market, and certainly for the ATI spec market as well, is that they have modular systems. They have modular systems that allow you to edit, to manage, to publish PDF, to create IETP, to check business rules, to import 1388 data, to create S2000M data. It's modular. So it's almost like it's cherry pick. So a lot of those things that I just talked about might not be interesting to your organization. And if they're not interesting to your organization, then you don't need to buy them. There's not any one vendor that does everything off the shelf for 25,000 euros. That's not going to happen. So when we talk, we've done a tutorial on the S1000D cost curse, and you can go and have a look at that. And it's obviously the S1000D cost curve, but we call it the S1000D cost curse because it does there are lots of upfront costs when it comes to S1000D, and we talk about that over on the members area. And so you can, to answer your question, you can buy an editor for a couple of £1,000, and you can buy a complete suite for like 300, 400,000 pounds, euros, whatever it might be, almost the same these days. So it really depends on your business requirements. Okay, so we have to supply an IETP to our client. How and where do we start? Okay, I know the context. I know that this has come from the same guy, so I know that you're talking specifically about S1000D IETPs. Now, what I also know is that you're delivering to a German client, and so the reality around this is that the German Bundeswehr, if you're delivering to the Bundeswehr, we don't know yet, is they have a browser that they ask people to deliver to. They have their own business rules, they have their own creating rules, those kind of things. Now, if that's who you're delivering to, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You will deliver to that. There's no question. And the great news is that if you're delivering to that, there's no investment in a IETP builder, if you like, or you don't have to buy licenses of the browser, because you'll just be delivering source data. That's if you're delivering to them. Now, if you're asking the question, you would like the capability within your organization to deliver an IETP, that's a different question. And there are many vendors that provide you and can provide you that capability. And most vendors today will have some kind of IETP, IETD. We've got a tutorial on the differences and the different levels. But so it really depends on what you're after. If we're talking about delivering to one specific German client, and if it's the end user, most German tech pubs companies have access to the German common viewer. I think it's the Bundeswehr browser, the IETD solution. There are, and if you need help getting in touch with anybody in that market, we can certainly help you here, because we have many contacts down in Germany that can help you with that. If you're looking for something specifically for your organization to have capability, and again, do our capability versus deliverable, then there are options available to you. There are some good browsers and there are some really bad browsers. So, there are, I think we've done 5 tips on buying an IETP solution on the members area. So maybe take a look at that. But that, guys, is a number of questions that we've had. Sorry if we didn't answer your specific question. Again, if we haven't answered your question, it's because we're looking at doing a tutorial on it, so we're holding it back. If it's holding you up and holding your business up, get in touch and we will answer some questions for you. Remember, you can create your free account over on the members area. That gives you access to a number of different resources, some of the STL papers. If you're a vendor and you're a member and you have some resources and you want our members to have access to it, send it in to Claire or to member services. We'll have a look and we'll pop it up there for you. The members area is growing at a rapid rate because we're finding lots of organizations are inviting all their authors and illustrators. Create your free account. Remember the magazine, if you are supplying some adverts, tutorials or whatever to the magazine this quarter, make sure you are aware of those deadlines. Make sure that if you want to come to the TDW Live conference this year, the early birds close at the end of July. So you can, and we are going to run a special during July, which means that if you bring along your customer, if you're a TD supplier and you bring along your customer, you'll receive a slightly bigger discount. So you can get in touch with us on that as well, and we will certainly help you out. Now, I know this has been way longer than what I wanted it to be, but I hope that you found this useful. Please do share it amongst all your TD professionals. Come and create that account. And if you have any questions, keep them coming in to memberservices@techdataworld.com. We will always endeavor to answer. And if you have a pressing business problem, then please do, identify it as a pressing business problem and we'll look at it. Again, I'm Michael Ingledew. Hope you found it useful. Until next time, and I'm going to go and bathe my eyes.